My camera's waiting for the singing. You're taking too long here. You're wasting up my space on my camera.
Oh, there's no singing taking place.
There's no singing taking place?
Not this round.
Damn it.
Ready?
Let's do it.
Here we go. Baby, 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 baby. I need your love. I need your love.
Welcome to another episode of Riding and Wrenching, the biggest little YouTube channel on the entire interwebs. I am your host, Q the Rider, and in today's episode, I'm going to talk to you about my experience taking Lock and Lean 102. This is my second class I've taken with Lock and Lean. My first class I did a video series, and I'll post a link to that right here. So check that out if you want to learn more about Lock and Lean 101. In this episode, I'm going to talk about some of the differences between the two classes. I'm going to talk about some of the things we did during the 3-day, 7 to 8 hour course per day. And I'm going to share with you some of the things that I learned over this 3-day weekend. Now, so what is Lock and Lean 102? They call it their street speed motor school. Lock and Lean 101 focuses more on slow speed. And Lock and Lean 102, it's a faster speed. The maximum speed through the street speed portion of the exercises is 30 miles an hour. So that's a lot, but you're learning how to use your brakes properly. You're learning how to use your skill in stopping the bike and not relying solely on your ABS technology, if you have it. You also learn what to do when your wheels lock up, either the front or rear wheel, and it gives you a better understanding of how to navigate through turns, how to avoid obstacles, and how to stay safe when you're out on the road. Now, Lock and Lean 101 focuses on the process that Lock and Lean wants you to learn that will help you through any pattern. But they do use a series of patterns that you're very familiar with: a cone weave, the offset cone weave, U-turn boxes, a keyhole, and a variety of left and right turns, things like that. But the pattern itself doesn't really matter. What they're doing is teaching you the process. Lock and Lean 102 takes all of those things that you learned in 101 and mashes them together and makes a complex pattern that you have to navigate through. But the key thing that you're doing is focusing on executing the process, which is managing your speed as you approach whatever pattern there is. Maximizing the space within that pattern and recognizing, identifying, and taking advantage of any dead space that's there. And you have to be able to identify it. Now, they throw us a curveball in this one through one part of the exercise that looks like they took some cones and threw them in the air. And they landed on the ground, and you have to figure out how to make it through that. Now, that's not actually what they did, but that's kind of what it looked like. They called it the potato because it looked like an Idaho potato. It was just a very odd shaped pattern, and you have to look at it and figure out how to get through it. And that's important because when we need these skills on the road, there's going to be obstacles out there. There's going to be things that we may have to maneuver around, and it's not going to be a nice symmetrical keyhole. It's not going to be this beautiful square-shaped U-turn box. Those exercises are good, and they're good to practice because they help refine your technique, but you need to have a process that you use. Okay, I'm here with a couple of my classmates from Lock and Lean 102. Introduce yourself, sir.
Ben Jones from Detroit, Michigan.
PK from Washington.
How'd you like the class?
It's pretty awesome.
It's awesome?
It's a game changer.
Yeah.
If you are in motorcycling, come and do this class.
Absolutely.
You will not regret it.
You will not be disappointed with the skills, the instruction, everything about it is designed to make you better, and it does.
Now, I'll say this, that if we could call Lock and Lean 101 checkers, Lock and Lean 102 is chess, because you have to think, you've got to stay focused. But even when you try to stay focused, they're going to try to throw curveballs at you because they want it to be a little bit more pressure on you to make it through. So that's why there's a timing element of it. And again, you might have instructors kind of yelling at you or following you or walking behind you while you're going through the pattern, and you have to stay focused and execute and use what's in front of you, use the information that's in front of you, whether it's the cones or any obstacles that are there, and do what you know how to do to make it around them. So that was a phenomenal experience, and felt very good about how I performed there. I was just really happy about it because I went into Lock and Lean 101 a little arrogant, to be honest with you, because I've been practicing slow speed riding for quite a while. But Lock and Lean 101 helped me to identify a couple of weaknesses in my riding, and it humbled me quite a bit. So in between my Lock and Lean 101 and 102 class, which was, I don't know, 4 months or so, 4 or 5 months, I really focused on getting those problems off my back. And in particular, it was a right U-turn. My left U-turns were pretty tight. I was comfortable with it. I was still making mistakes, but I could execute a tight U-turn to the left. To the right was a different story, and I didn't realize exactly how bad I was until I started dropping my bike like a madman during Lock and Lean 101. But by 102, I really pulled it together, and I was really happy with that. Now, I'll tell you, during my first day of 102, I took the saddlebags off my bike because I'm like, God, I don't want to drop my bike, take a chance on damaging my saddlebags. When I showed up for the second day, I'm like, I'm just going to leave them on, because I felt comfortable. I knew I wasn't going to drop my bike, and I felt comfortable with everything that we're doing, and I felt comfortable with my skills. And that's why that 7 to 8 hours a day for 3 days, it really helps you get better, because that's some intensive practice and training. Now, a couple of other things that we did in the 102 class, we did something called threshold braking. Now, threshold braking is taking your brakes to their maximum capability and getting the most out of them and understanding how the front brakes and rear brakes work. Now, thinking back to my basic rider course, we were instructed that the front brakes make up, I think they said 65 to 70% of your braking power, and the rear brakes make up the balance. Well, it's one thing to say that. At Lock and Lean, they demonstrate that. They demonstrate the front brakes only, rear brakes only, and you see the huge difference. You see how much power that you have in the front brakes, and they really stress on learning how to use that power of the front brakes to slow your motorcycle down, because it may very well save your life. And it also gives you enough information to really make you think about modifications and changes that you make to your motorcycle. One of the most, I'm not going to call it common, but it's not uncommon for people to take one of the front rotors off and ride with one rotor. Well, if you knew the difference between the power of your front versus the power of your rear brakes, you wouldn't do anything to decrease your stopping power on the front. So that was one of the big key things that was really reinforced by a demonstration, and it was eye-opening. All right, so what are some of the things that I learned during my Lock and Lean 102 class about myself? I can do a tight right U-turn. I'm pumped. I just can't tell you how good it feels to get that monkey off your back, because now I really want to continue focusing on having my right U-turns to be exactly the same as my left U-turns. And I'm going to continue working on that. And by the time I make it to Lock and Lean 201, which will be sometime next year, you won't be able to tell the difference between my right and left turns. My anti-lock braking system on my bike, I had a lot of misconceptions about when it's engaging. But the key thing that I learned was how to stop your bike in a short distance without engaging the anti-lock brakes. Because what happens if my anti-lock braking system fails and I don't know it? The reality is that my braking should be so smooth and so confident that the anti-lock braking system won't be a crutch for me. I'm going to use the technology, but I need to know how to stop my bike by myself. And that was a phenomenal exercise. I had the perception in the past that this was all about participating in motorcycle rodeos. I've never had a dream of participating in motorcycle rodeos. I've been in one so far, and it's fun, but it's never really been my goal to be a rider who can participate in rodeos. I don't care about trophies. But I now understand that the rodeos are not just about trophies. It's not just about winning awards and these slow speed patterns and everything that we do. It's not about showing off or anything like that. It's about creating motorcycle instincts that can help save your life. Because if I ever happen to need any of these skills while I'm on the road, you get one chance to do it right. And the difference between doing it right or not doing it all might be your life. And this school is really helping to drive that home, and it's helping me to develop good motorcycle instincts that I know that I can rely on when I need them. Precision motorcycle riding is actually fun. it's really, really cool. I've met so many cool people at the school, from as far as Seattle, Washington, and Pennsylvania, some fellow riders here in Tennessee, and all across the country in Illinois. I mean, just a lot of people all came together to take this class, and it was so much fun because you get an opportunity to do this with other great riders. We're encouraging one another, we're coaching one another, and help push one another along so that we all got better at the same time, and it was really phenomenal. Now, another thing that I picked up in this class is that I got an opportunity to meet some riders who are taking the 201 class, because in my class they were conducting a 102 and a 201 class at the same time. Now, the 102 is the second class in their series. The 201 is the third class. And so they're a little bit more advanced, and it was cool watching those guys go through some of the patterns, as well as some of the lock and lean instructors, because they helped me to see that what looked like a tight turn, there's a lot more space than I thought. It's just about following the process. And I was watching them go through these patterns at a high speed, you get to see how much space there actually is. Because when you're going through on your own motorcycle, you might look at that turn, you're like, oh my God, there's not a lot of space there. But then you watch one of these other guys come through and they're leaning the bike and dipping and diving, like, wow, look at all of that space. And in their riding, you can really see them executing the process. So that was phenomenal for me. So all in all, I will tell you that Lock and Lean is a great program. I enjoyed it. I think that I was prepared for it. And I'm happy with what I've done. I'm going to continue working on my slow speed riding. And again, I'm going to take their next class sometime next year, and I'm going to continue my development. I encourage you to do the same. Look at all of the options for training that are out there for you, and take the one that fits you. I will tell you that Lock and Lean is a great option, and it's something that you should look at. And there's also other opportunities out there. Do whatever's good for you to keep developing your skills, because you never know when you're going to need them. This is Q. I'm riding, I'm wrenching, and I am out.